For generations, men have been sold a beautiful lie about how romance actually functions. You were likely raised to believe that love is a simple transaction where you trade effort for affection. You were told that if you just worked harder, showed more devotion, and poured every ounce of your soul into a woman, she would eventually see your worth and reward you with her heart. Following this script, you did everything right on paper. You bought the thoughtful gifts, you became the reliable person who fixed her car at a moment's notice, and you stayed awake until the early hours of the morning just to be the shoulder she could cry on. You were consistent, kind, and endlessly available, yet the result was the exact opposite of what you expected. Instead of creating a deep bond, you watched her slowly drift away. Your kindness, which felt like a sacrifice to you, started to feel like a chore to her, and your constant presence eventually faded into the background like white noise. The reason this stings so much is that it reveals a raw reality most men are too afraid to face. The truth is that women do not fall in love with a list of favors or a tally of how much you have done for them. If you aren't providing the emotional spark they actually crave, all that physical and mental labor means nothing. You are playing the effort game, which works perfectly in sports or business where hard work scales with results. But attraction follows a completely different set of rules. In the world of human desire, it is an impact game. When you try too hard to please and overextend yourself to gain her approval, you aren't showing strength. You are screaming desperation. You are inadvertently signaling that your internal value is so low that you feel the need to buy her attention with favors and constant service. This dynamic creates a massive imbalance that kills attraction before it even has a chance to grow. By making yourself a 24/7 concierge, you remove any reason for her to pursue you or wonder about your worth. You have become a guaranteed outcome, and there is no excitement in a result that is already certain. Today, we are stripping away the fluff and the social conditioning to look at the 5 specific things that actually move the needle in a woman's psychology. This isn't about being cruel or cold. It is about understanding how to generate genuine interest rather than just being appreciated for your utility. If you are tired of being treated like an optional convenience and you are ready to be seen as a high-value priority, you need to listen very closely to how these dynamics actually work. To understand why attraction often fades right when you think you are doing the most, we have to look at a fundamental rule of human nature. The more you try to force a feeling, the less the other person actually feels it. Think about the man who has become a total tryhard. He is the guy who responds to every text message within 3 seconds, never letting a moment pass without proving his availability. He is the one who will drop his hobbies, cancel plans with his friends, and rearrange his entire Saturday just because she mentioned she might be free for an hour. In his mind, he thinks he is demonstrating deep commitment and showing her that she is his top priority. However, in her mind, this doesn't feel like romance. It feels suffocating. There is a biological response triggered when something becomes too easy to obtain. We are wired to believe that if something is offered without any effort on our part, it must not have much value. By making yourself too available, you accidentally communicate that your time isn't worth much. You have to realize that desire is not a logical process. She isn't sitting there with a mental calculator adding up all the nice things you have done or the points you have earned by being helpful. You cannot negotiate your way into someone's heart by being the most convenient option. What she actually wants is to feel a magnetic pull that she can't quite explain with logic alone. That spark is created through a delicate mix of curiosity and emotional tension. When you overinvest and put all your cards on the table immediately, you kill that curiosity instantly. You become a solved puzzle with no missing pieces and no mystery left to uncover. There is no reason for her to lean in or wonder about you because you have already given everything away for free. A man who is genuinely building his own world and following a purpose simply does not have the time to act like a 24/7 concierge service. He has a mission that demands his attention, which naturally limits his availability. This isn't about playing a game or pretending to be busy. It is about actually having a life that you value as much as or more than a potential relationship. You need to start focusing on your own rhythm, your own pace, and your own goals. When a woman sees that you aren't auditioning for her approval or waiting around for her to validate your existence, the dynamic shifts completely. It is only when you stop trying to earn her favor that she starts wondering what she needs to do to earn yours. By pulling back and focusing on your own path, you create the space necessary for her to feel attraction and start moving toward you. The second major pitfall most men fall into is what I call the stimulation trap. You likely believe that the ultimate goal of a relationship is to create a sense of absolute peace and harmony. You want every day to be smooth, every conversation to be pleasant, and every plan to be safe and predictable. While that sounds like a noble way to treat someone you care about, this obsession with being perfectly stable is actually the silent killer of romance. Human attraction thrives on variety and movement. If a woman knows exactly what you are going to say before you say it, exactly where you are going to take her for dinner every Friday, and exactly how you will react to her every mood, her brain essentially shuts off. She stops viewing you as an exciting partner and starts viewing you as a piece of furniture, reliable and there, but completely unnoticeable. You have to understand that women want to feel emotionally alive when they are around you. They want to be moved by your presence, which is a much deeper experience than simply being treated well. This is the exact point where most good guys fail. They are so terrified of upsetting her or causing a moment of friction that they strip away everything that makes them an individual. They become so agreeable and so careful that they eventually become boring. There is no edge, no challenge, and no excitement left in the interaction. You can certainly be a provider and a source of support without turning into a doormat. True security comes from her knowing you are a man of your word, not from her knowing she can walk all over you. The moment a woman senses that she has total emotional leverage over you, the attraction begins to evaporate. If she realizes that she can snap her fingers, change her mood, or pull away slightly and watch you jump through hoops to fix it, she will lose all respect for you. Respect is the foundation of desire, and she cannot respect a man who has handed over the keys to his own self-respect just to keep things comfortable. You have to stop trying to buy her love through endless favors and a perfect, boring routine. Instead, you need to bring an edge back to your presence. This means having your own opinions, standing your ground when you disagree, and being a man who is comfortable with a little bit of emotional tension. When you stop being so predictable, you become a man who actually commands her attention and stirs her emotions. The third major insight involves understanding why mystery will always outperform basic consistency in the world of attraction. Most of us have been brainwashed by modern dating advice to believe that being constantly available and transparent is the ultimate virtue. While being reliable has its place, consistency without any sense of contrast or polarity eventually turns into pure monotony. Think about your favorite movie or a book you couldn't put down. If the trailer had shown you the ending or the author explained every plot twist on the first page, you would have lost interest immediately. There would be no reason to keep watching or reading because there is no suspense. Unfortunately, most men show the entire movie of their life within the first week of meeting someone. They over-explain their past, they overshare their feelings, and they broadcast every detail of their day, leaving absolutely nothing to a woman's imagination. This is exactly where adopting a stoic frame becomes your greatest competitive advantage. A man who understands stoic principles does not feel the need to perform or dance for attention. He naturally speaks less and observes more, moving through the world with a sense of deliberate purpose that does not require outside validation. He does not feel an anxious need to justify his silence or explain his whereabouts every second of the day. This isn't about playing a manipulative game or being intentionally vague to cause hurt. It is about being genuinely occupied with your own personal growth and your mission in life. When you hold back just a little bit of yourself, you create a vacuum that she naturally wants to fill. Because she does not have every answer handed to her on a silver platter, she starts to write the story of who you are in her own head. By maintaining this sense of mystery, you actually encourage her to become emotionally invested in the relationship. She has to do the mental work to figure you out, and that process of wondering what you are thinking or what you are doing is what builds genuine attraction. Every time she wonders about you while you are away, her investment in you grows, You must stop believing that total transparency is the path to her heart. When you tell everything and show everything at once, you trade away your masculine gravity for constant exposure. Once that gravity is gone, you lose the pull that keeps her interested. True strength is found in being a man of substance who reveals himself slowly over time, rather than a man who begs to be understood by giving everything away up front. The fourth point centers on a major shift in mindset. You must stop worshiping the woman you desire and start challenging her instead. Many men believe that the safest way to keep a woman is to act like her biggest fan, offering constant praise and treating her like a flawless goddess who can do no wrong. However, when you put someone on a pedestal, they have no choice but to look down on you. Genuine attraction and chemistry are built through polarity, which is the tension created between two different forces. This polarity is only possible when you have the courage to stand as an equal, which often means having the strength to say no. You need to develop the ability to disagree with her or voice your own perspective without being haunted by the fear that she might leave you for doing so. If your entire personality is designed to avoid conflict, you aren't being a partner, you are being a servant. It is important to understand that challenging a woman is not about being toxic, rude, or intentionally picking fights to get a reaction. Instead, it is about having an unshakable frame and a clear set of personal boundaries. Women will naturally test a man's strength through their words or actions, and when she does this, she is secretly hoping that you stay as rooted and immovable as a mountain. She wants to be reassured that your principles and your self-respect are stronger than your temporary desire to please her. The moment you compromise your core values or bite your tongue just to keep her in a good mood, you have lost the very thing that makes you attractive. A woman cannot sustain respect for a man she feels she can dominate or manipulate. If she senses that you are too soft to lead or too afraid to hold your own, the masculine-feminine dynamic flips, and the attraction will inevitably die. To keep that spark alive, you have to be the kind of man who sees her fully, acknowledging both her flaws and her beauty, and treats both with the same grounded truth. By not being blinded by her looks or overwhelmed by her emotions, you demonstrate a level of masculine gravity that commands respect. When she realizes she cannot pull you off your center, she finally feels safe enough to relax into her own role and let you lead the way. The final and most critical lesson is the concept of emotional detachment, which is often the most misunderstood masculine trait. Many people hear the word detachment and assume it means becoming a cold, robotic, or unfeeling statue. That could not be further from the truth. Real detachment is not the absence of emotion, but the mastery over it. It is the ability to feel the sting of a difficult situation. Perhaps she is becoming distant, taking hours to reply, or even ghosting you, and choosing to stay unmoved in your actions regardless of that internal sting. Most men react to these shifts with panic. They send more texts, they ask what is wrong, and they try to force a connection. A detached man acknowledges the feeling of discomfort, but refuses to let it dictate his behavior. He understands that his worth is not a variable that changes based on someone else's mood or level of interest. There is a dangerous vulnerability in needing a woman's love or validation to feel like a whole person. When your happiness is entirely dependent on her approval, you become a man who can be easily manipulated and controlled. You essentially hand her a remote control to your emotions. However, the man who values his own internal peace and his personal mission above any external validation becomes truly unstoppable. When you achieve this level of emotional independence, every interaction you have comes from a place of choice rather than a place of desperate need. You don't spiral into anxiety when the vibe of a relationship shifts because you are already centered in your own world. You are the anchor that remains steady while the weather around you changes. This ability is the ultimate masculine superpower, but it is not something you are born with. It is a skill that must be trained in the small, quiet moments of your daily life. You train this muscle every time you resist the urge to check your phone every 5 minutes for a notification. You sharpen it every time you choose not to chase someone who is pulling away, and instead, you sit with that localized discomfort without rushing to fix it. By doing this, you are effectively removing the emotional buttons that others might try to push to get a reaction out of you. You aren't building a cold wall to keep the world out. You are building a throne of self mastery where you sit as the lead of your own life. Ultimately, this entire journey of setting boundaries and maintaining mystery was never actually about the woman or the relationship. It has always been about the man you are becoming in the process. It is about forging a version of yourself that is disciplined, self reliant, and unshakable. When you stop handing over your power to everyone you encounter, you finally gain the freedom to lead with clarity and strength. The goal is to stay calm, stay dangerous in your pursuit of excellence, and ensure that your internal peace is a territory that no one else has the power to invade or destroy.